everyone. Welcome back to our next WOW interview. Today, we are sitting down with Elizabeth Eichhorn of IFundWomen. She is the Senior Entrepreneur Account Executive there and is joining us here from Texas. She works with the IFundWomen team, previously based in LA, but of course, with our new way of the world, she is now back in Texas. I am here in New York, and we are going to be talking about her career journey. Really quick, I don't know if I introduced myself, but I'm Abigail Gibbons, the very proud creator of the WOW series, and we host these weekly interviews. So we are thrilled to get started in our conversation here with Elizabeth. When we're going to be diving into her career journey, she also comes from an entrepreneur background until she found her role here at IFundWomen. And she's going to be sharing with us some of the challenges she's had to face in her career, and her advice for the next generation when it comes to entrepreneurship or just scaling your career. We're going to be learning from her and her journey today. So Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me. I'm thrilled to sit down and talk with you today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Abigail, I am excited for this. I love what you are doing.
Oh, thank you.
And it's exciting to just continue to tell other women about entrepreneurship and have a space like this, because definitely when I was going through my journey, which we'll talk about in a second, it was not around. So I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, of course, IFundWomen has been a huge inspiration when I went to start my business. And, there can never be too many communities and spaces like this that in their own unique way are kind of guiding that next generation of entrepreneurship. And like you, I started this because I started my business and thought, wait, I have no female mentors who started a business. And then when I was in corporate America, I was like, wait, I have no female mentors like in this industry that I'm in. So that was kind of the brainchild and how we got started. But anyway, why don't you, enough about me, this interview is about you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do at IFundWomen and how you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, like Abigail said, I am the senior entrepreneur account executive here at IFundWomen. And so, just a little background of IFundWomen, who we are. We are the go-to funding marketplace for women-owned businesses and those who want to fund them. And we are helping change the world by making sure that women have access to capital, have access to mentorship, and have that support that was not around for a long time. So that's what we do. And my journey and how I got here was that first and foremost, I was an entrepreneur. I had an idea. I was trying to figure out, how do I take that idea into something profitable, a business? Where do I go? And when I went to go and find mentors, just like yourself, there was really nothing. Like
Mhm.
no one was there. And so I was trying to figure this all out on my own. And the thing that happened was, it was kind of the only thing that worked was the boys club was kind of this only thing that was available for me, or um old school business mentality. That was it. And I just kind of leaned into whatever resources I guess I could have,
Mhm.
but that wasn't good enough for me. It wasn't great. I didn't feel like I had a community. So, long story short is that my business was a food business initially. We were a food production company, and I learned that business. I learned how to have a food product, take it from ideation, recipe testing, all the way to actually putting it in stores. But I was missing out still on this community piece. And so I also started a networking event where we would do small, intimate dinners that were also a corporate space where we would allow for people to come in, but you didn't get to talk about work or something. It was like left at the door. And so I would guide people through these conversations and connect people. And it was during that time that I started to actually feel like, well, this was the missing piece for me.
Mm.
I created it, but that was the missing piece for me, was that really great community and support that I needed within a
Yeah.
business.
Very cool. Interesting. I love your background too, and how you really tried and did it all. And look how that got you to where you are here at
Mhm.
IFundWomen. And I think that's so important when we are thinking about the next generation. I remember being that recent graduate, right? Finding your footing in the workplace and what do you do next? And your story is such a great example of that. You don't need to have it figured out all right away, but just start pursuing your passions, especially for an entrepreneur. You started in the food industry, which is so impressive that you took that all the way through fruition to getting it into stores, but then still explored what's the missing piece here, and found that community piece, and how the two can come together. And I think that's a really important message when we are talking to entrepreneurs about, of course, not only the importance of community, but the importance of trying new things, and that you don't have to have it figured all out right away.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And it's true. It can be really it can be lonely, and it can be
Mhm,
challenging to kind of go off of your gut reaction. And when you are,
mhm,
those times where you're crying to your best friend because you're
mhm.
like, what am I doing? Like, that's
Yeah.
normal. That's very much like entrepreneurship 101 for sure. There's a meme that went around a few years ago, and it's of like an entrepreneurship journey. And it's
Mhm,
like it's like a mountain, and they're like,
yeah.
here's the morning, here's the evening, and your feelings and emotions go up. At the bottom it's like, oh, this is the life of an entrepreneur in an hour. Like, that's where our emotions can come in sometimes. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you say that and we address that too. Because when I talk about like my other entrepreneur friends in my network, it's nice to know I'm not alone, but I'll have weeks and months where things are great. And then what do I do? I have to re-navigate, or things happen. And like I have definitely had multiple breakdowns since I started my entrepreneur journey. And I think it's important that we talk about it. But no, it is, I think it's the unknown that's stressful, and just kind of being, like you said, feeling on your own in terms of how do you figure it out. And community is so important for that reason. Communities like IFundWomen and the WOW series and the countless others. But before we get into the different communities and kind of how we can solve for that problem, you mentioned that challenge of feeling lonely, of having so many up and downs as an entrepreneur. Are there any other, or a specific challenge that you'd like to share with us today that you think our listeners can learn from, that you've had to go through?
Yeah, I think financial a challenge for
Mhm,
sure. My challenge was I had an idea and I didn't know where to get funding for this
mhm,
idea. And I was lucky enough to have had a savings account. But also, I'm sad that I had a savings account because I immediately used that for this idea.
mhm,
And when you don't know how to really start a business, or what the money is supposed to go to, or how to do
mhm,
a P&L statement for a business, it's not the best thing to do in going into your own savings account. And that caused a lot of financial stress within
mhm,
myself, for my marriage. Understanding that this is finances, like, are sometimes that, we talk about, my husband and I are still married, but you look at statistics of divorce and it's like more
mhm,
than 50% are because of financial stress.
mhm,
And so when you are going into entrepreneurship, you do have to think about the financial um, hardships of this. And so I was um, 26, newly married when I started my business, and spent all the savings that we had. Did not have anything kind of like a nest egg after that, because I was like, this is going to work.
mhm,
Um, Thought that it would be super easy to get a loan or a credit card, or but those are all debt things. That's the
mhm,
problem that I kept realizing, like, oh, there's this other thing that we're not doing, which is like selling the piece, or how do you do this? So
mhm,
it was hard to realize there's not a whole lot of opportunities for startups to actually get
mhm,
funds. And I then turned to crowdfunding actually for my company. We did successfully get funded and raise our goal. Just so you all know, IFundWomen was not around. So it was not on IFundWomen. It was on a different platform. But what I learned was that, okay, there are opportunities. It's hard to get them, and it's hard to make sure that you ask for money and ask for help. But we have to stop going into debt
mhm,
to fund our businesses. We have to realize that going into debt, like, it takes so much longer to actually get your business up and running because you're just paying off debt over and over again. So, funny enough, my business closed. We ended up closing everything down in about a year ago now, and we are completely debt free from our business loans, our credit cards, all of that completely paid off, which is awesome. So, but I do want to say
Yeah.
when once you start going down that road of saying, I'll tap into savings, I'll
Mhm.
bootstrap it, I will get a credit card, it's really hard to get out of.
Yeah, that is great advice. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And ironically, we were just talking about this a bit before we jumped on our interview today because I was sharing how I work a 9 to 5, which does help fund my business. I have that security not only to, maintain a roof over my head and all of that and have some savings, but that also is funding my business. This personal paycheck that I'm getting is going back into the company. And I think it's so important that we talk about more ways women can start. I mean, it's what IFundWomen is doing, more ways that women can have financial security when starting their businesses for so many different reasons. But also conversations like this are so important because I don't think we have them enough, especially in the entrepreneurial space. And just how to own your financial well-being when it comes to starting your business and when it comes to just your financial well-being. And I think as entrepreneurs, there's also kind of this story similar to what you said about bootstrapping it. Like, let me
Mhm.
tap into my savings. Let me do this. I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. Let me do this to pay off this one person or this one
Right.
coach or consultant or a tech product or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why products like IFundWomen are so important. That's why I'm starting my campaign with them here in a couple months because I'm at the point in my business where,
Yay.
yeah, I'm at the point where I can't scale successfully unless I really tap into my savings. Or if who knows what it is, pick up another job or something else, which would take away from me scaling the business. And it was IFundWomen gave me that light bulb of, oh, I can grow this and I can crowdfund it and I don't have to give away my company because I'm not ready yet. So
Mhm.
that's so important and such an incredible solution. And I hope that for any of the aspiring or current entrepreneurs listening, knowing that that's an option is so important and that you don't have to bootstrap it or you don't have to have such hardship when it comes to bootstrapping it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this also brings up an important topic I haven't mentioned yet, but you're going to be speaking on our next panel here in April 2021. And we're going to be talking a lot about that, what it takes to crowdfund and grow your business, but then also that financial security that we need to have. And I think especially as women, we are already underpaid compared to our male counterparts. So these conversations like this and laying money out there is so important. So I'm very excited to have you speak upcoming in April, but also I love that we're having this conversation now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I'm excited for that as well.
Yes, very excited. We'll talk more about that at the end. But so I want to talk into and get into the advice that you have for the next generation. And of course, IFundWomen is a solution for this problem that you just mentioned, but I wanted to hear if you have any other advice related to the challenge you just shared or other advice for other current and aspiring entrepreneurs, women, professionals who are looking to take that next step.
I think my advice is I think if I can, I'm going to have
Mhm.
two. First is
Yeah.
I would not quit my day job until I have really solid projections for my business. If you don't know what projections are, for those of you who are listening, it's understanding where your business can go and grow. How much money do you think that it might be able to make in a particular quarter and in a particular year? That would be advice number one. As hard as it is to hear, because I think we're told reach for the dream and keep doing that. Absolutely. Keep on doing that. And the part that's missing is who's going to afford for you to get there and how are you going to afford to get there. So I want us to remember that when we keep on thinking, how am I going to pay for this particular thing? And you're talking to somebody who graduated in college in the recession. So I was definitely given
Mhm.
this belief that, well, just go to grad school. It's totally fine. Just take out grad debt and then you'll just
Mhm.
go back to school because there weren't jobs.
Yeah.
And so um, my generation has had to learn that, unfortunately. And so that's what I've learned from there. The other thing that I would also say to the next generation would be keep working on building your dream and making sure that you have connections in those areas that can help you open those doors. as much as we don't want to admit it, it sometimes is really about who you know
Hmm.
that can actually help you get to that next place, that can really lend a hand. And so, if you are looking to build your network, attend events like this, then follow up with people who you have actually connected with. And from there, ask people for a short meeting, ask people to spend 20 minutes with you, um, and pay for their coffee. Like, I think that's a really valuable thing to always do, especially if somebody's giving up your time of their time.
Yeah, to meet with you. That is fantastic advice. The value of the network is so important and will never go out of style. And especially in our new working environment, here in our virtual world, it is so much easier to network if you meet someone at an event like an IFundWomen event or workshop, or here at the WOW series, you can easily follow up with someone, LinkedIn, Instagram, email them, and you can just hop on a Zoom call. So you're not necessarily limited to location either, which is so important. So that is fantastic advice. And I love your advice about not quitting your day job. That is so important. And, I found this too, especially my own network. It's like, oh, there can be this pressure to, as you said, like leave and go pursue your dreams. So you have to leave now. You have to leave. Use your savings. How much savings do you have? Live off that for 6 months or whatever it is. But to have that financial security is so important, and it's hard. I mean, of course I live that now, but to hustle and have it be harder for a couple of years, a year, 2 years, however it might be, it pays off in the long run to not have that financial insecurity and stress that you've experienced, that so many others have experienced. I've been through that too. When I first started my event planning business, I took 6 months off my corporate job, and I thought, let me see, how quickly I can scale this business and get it started. Of course, quickly realized that I do need to have a full-time job, and I've really been doing that ever since. And for me, the best advice I got was, and I'm sure you relate and resonate with this too, Elizabeth. The best advice I got from a mentor was to keep doing a little each day, because you do need that financial security. And as long as you're plugging in as much as you can that day into this dream of yours, I do believe it will come to fruition. And that's what I mean. I'm living that right now. So it's so great to hear from the stories like you, Elizabeth, of people who have done it and overcome. And it's so important to learn from, the challenges that others have experienced, like what you shared, so that way the next generation and others to come can also avoid making the same mistakes that we've all made.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's challenging to admit, because when I was starting off, I don't think I would have ever said that.
Mhm.
Like, what I just said. Um, but that's not where I am now. And I have had to realize, like, sometimes there's some sacrifices that have to get made. Doesn't mean that you can't do it all. It just means that it's not going to look like a massive tech startup that we thought, we have to, we also have to sometimes pull back the curtain and actually pay attention to what was really happening.
That is such great advice. That also brings me to like that never ending idea of imposter syndrome. And especially when it comes to social media and seeing your competitors or friends or peers on social media, or even like the next successful tech startup that appeared to happen overnight. It's important to not get lost in necessarily what other people are doing, but as you're saying, like stay true to put your blinders on and stay true to what you're building and take care of yourself and your financial needs and personal needs and all of that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sitting down with me today.
Well, Abigail, thank you for having me and asking me those hard questions. It's always a great thing to be able to share with other people. So, thank you so much for having this and having your platform. And I would say follow iFundWomen. So, ifundwomen.com, and at iFundWomen. And then if you ever want to reach out to me, please send me an email, Elizabeth at ifundwomen.com.
Wonderful. It's super easy to reach you. So we'll also have the social handles below. So if you haven't seen them, please feel free to give IFundWomen, Elizabeth a follow. Elizabeth, one more thing. Thank you so much for sharing your very open share with us too. We haven't really had anyone dive into the financial hardships of being an entrepreneur. So it's really great to have you come and share that story with us. So thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome. Thank you.
Of course. So, yes, follow and reach out using the links below. If you want to learn more, visit our Instagram. You will also see Elizabeth and IFundWomen posted there if you'd like to learn more there. And until the next Wow interview, we'll talk to everyone soon. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us, and I'll see you soon too.